Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match beyond all reason, where today we're taking a look at a cheeky little 3v3 that was recently played on Star Watcher. Star Watcher, a popular 8v8 map, so seeing a 3v3 on it is definitely exciting. Obviously, with that much metal out on the field, it means these commanders here are in a great position to play some very interesting strategies. Looks like we should have some of those cooked up here very, very shortly. So today, spawning as our red team leader. I like in the small team games getting to introduce everybody. It does feel quite, feels entertaining, right? And especially all these commanders, they get to put their names out on the board. Anyways, spawning as the red team leader here, a commander that goes by the name of Stellas. Pew Stellas, going to be playing as a Cortex commander and going into a vehicle lab, followed up right here by an Armada commander in yellow, playing as Fader here. I'm going to read that as Fader. Pew Fader. And finally, as the orange commander, also as Cortex, it's Fluffy Commando. Going up against the blue team here, headed up by the blue commander, Chicken Tasty, spawning as an Armada commander and going into a couple of vehicles. Very, very cool to see. Followed up by, similarly here, Estabandito, the green commander right now, who's also going into Armada vehicles. I'm expecting a lot of Janus play up here. Definitely some good stuff. And, of course, leading the charge from the bottom of the blue team right here, hailing at 13 open skill and a silver chevron to boot, it's the Cortex commander, goes by the name of General Entropy. General Entropy, gonna be the Cyan commander for today. So, 3 versus 3, let's talk about it for a second because it's gonna be the focus of this Saturday stream, Saturday being tomorrow as of recording this, or today as of this video being released. I'm thinking of the timings. This goes up at midnight PDT, which does mean, yeah, you should be seeing this, if you're seeing this, you're seeing it just hours before the actual 3v3 tournament, and I am excited. I've been asked to cast a bunch of the games, so I'm going to be covering some of the pro-level games. That apparently, I haven't looked at the brackets yet, but apparently there's going to be some really top-notch players playing in the brackets, so I'm going to be excited to cast some of those games. However, I did also want to take this opportunity to remind you that the bracket closes 2 hours before the stream, which does mean that if you want to sign up, this is probably the very last chance you're gonna get. So, no pressure or anything, but if you wanted to play and you wanted to have some fun in this Swiss-style tournament, I would definitely say that now is better than later because you might not get a second chance. We've done it in the past where signups closed essentially at the start of the stream, so I'm being very, very forward about the fact that that is not going to be the case this time. You've been forewarned. Anyway, back to the game here. The red commander already sending a rascal across the map here. Going to be deflected quite nicely by the Cyan commander. Okay, there we go. Deflected by the Cyan commander. We also have some more scouts running through. Star Watcher, a map with a lot of space to cover. And I mean, that's fair. It's an 8 versus 8 map, right? So you're not typically expected to cover as much ground as these commanders are going to have to in this game. But it is cool to see because there's so much space, commanders can expand very greedily. You can see tons and tons of metal extractors over here. I'm keeping my eyes on the minimap, by the way. Checking out where this rascal's going. Looks like it's going to be able to, at the very least, scout the green base. There is an LLT here. No micro right there on the red rascal will mean that it goes down. Nice LLT defense right there. One of those things that I like about the vehicle play, of course, is setting up that LLT in base. Helps defend a little bit, especially against those harassments that might otherwise not be queued perfectly, right? They're not being microed 100%. No commander's perfect, and sometimes you can manage to catch those scouts with just a nicely placed LLT. Oftentimes difficult because those wind turbines do block LLT vision, and yeah, many a time have I had my metal extractor blown up by a rascal that managed to slip right alongside a bunch of wind turbines that an LLT couldn't shoot at. But Fluffy Commando pretty happy with that defense, and all said and done, these commanders seem eager to just get their economies up and scaling. So one of the ways that you can think about this, one of the ways that I like to think about this is essentially you've got 3 commanders on an 8v8 map, which means each one of these gets at the very least double the metal of what they normally would have, right? So when you put it into that kind of perspective, what it screams to me is that these commanders have a choice. They can either choose to go into a bunch of different technologies, right? They might go into bots and air or vehicles and bots or something like that really early on, way earlier than you would normally. Because, yeah, you have double the metal, which means you have double the economy, which means you have the flexibility to actually do that. It's one of the reasons why I like these small team battles so much. I know I've covered a lot of them recently. Let me know what you think about it. It seems like everybody really is on board with the small team battles. I'm excited to see a variety. The 8v8s are certainly fun, and it's really nice to get to play a lane and just really micro the hell out of playing whatever lane you're on and learning that build order to the absolute limits of what's possible. But sometimes it is cool to have a little more presence out of the map, have a little more metal to go make big plays with. Yeah, I think everybody's pretty excited to see how this type of matchup develops. I would definitely encourage you, if you're on the fence about it, I would definitely encourage you to step into one of these low-level small team lobbies that do pop up now and again. They do get pretty popular though, so don't be afraid to start up your own lobby too, in case you were, yeah, maybe thinking, hey, I'd like to play some small team games, but the one that I found was just so full. It's one of the wonderful things about a free-to-play open source game like Beyond All Reason is. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that because it's such a huge selling point. You are a selling point, that's pretty funny. You're able to do whatever you want. You're able to create as many lobbies as you want. You're able to do whatever you want. And that, of course, means that if you want to set up a small team lobby, definitely don't shy away from the opportunity to do that. You might end up making some friends and finding a community of your own. You're also welcome here at the Brightworks community. We try to foster a kind and loving, if not competitive and enthusiastic company of heroes. Definitely would recommend checking it out, though. We do have a Discord channel, which will be linked down below in the description section. Plenty of folks down there with lots of wisdom, lots of experience, and also lots of you know, fun charisma to partake, in case you're looking for that kind of experience. The blue team expanding much more rapidly here. I like to see it. There is an Incisor in the backline. LLT to defend these mexes is cool. Incisor should lose to this LLT. It's already down to 21% HP. There it goes. LLT cleaning up this Incisor before it manages to take down a Mex. Nicely done. There were plenty of Mexes over here, but I believe that Incisor was probably queued long ago and probably well forgotten about. Not the end of the world, of course, but it is a bit of a shame to see any amount of economic damage that isn't taken advantage of. One thing, though, is that it does provide a lot of scouting, right? So now we know that there's Mexes back here. We know that there's an LLT back there. It means that follow-up harassment is going to be just a little bit more pinpointed. Exploiters have been set up in a nice defensive line right here by General Entropy. It's one of Cortex's strongest suits, is that defensive metal extractor. Its ability to dish out damage is somewhat mediocre, but its ability to sustain damage is amazing. Especially for T1 tier, it's extremely durable. I would imagine we see these usually used as defensive centerpieces, right? You kind of build your defense around the exploiter. That way it's focus fired like it is right now. And you can see how long it takes these tanks to blow it up. I mean, 4 or 5 volleys from those medium tanks right there is impressive. Very impressive. You pay a fairly steep cost at 240 metal, but relative to, say for instance, the fact that that's 5 metal less than a Brute, it's a very powerful static defense. You incorporate a couple of flame turrets and maybe even some twin guards or even a heavy laser tower, and I think you're in for a really sturdy, solid frontline defense right there with those exploiters. Anyways, you can see the wreckage right here has been left across the battlefield. We do have a Resbot eating all this up. You know, it'd be a cheeky play is resurrecting those. Yeah, resurrecting an exploiter is a very cheeky play. I would love to see that because, of course, resing it means that it comes back online on your colors, and that means that you have a nice little defensive setup right there. I love the aggression from the blue team right here. I'm not so enthused about what the red team is up to. It seems like they're more focused on the economic expansion, but the units on the field, the boots on the ground, yeah, they're fairly thin across all departments here. Fluffy Commando, definitely you need more build power. You can definitely tell that some of these commanders are less experienced having this much resource, right? It's one of those things that's very obvious, is as soon as you jump into some of these small team games and then suddenly you have to command 2, maybe 2.5, sometimes even 3 times the amount of resources that you normally would have in a regular match, it can certainly be overwhelming. Having that much metal is not something that you usually have the luxury of in an 8v8. You have to be very scrappy. You have to be very on top of making sure that your trades are well worth it. It's not so important in this one. You can afford to be a little more wasteful. One of the reasons why it's perfectly fine for these tanks to keep pushing into these exploiters, partially deflected by the fact that those exploiters are low on power right now. Yeah, that's the other hard thing about having this much metal. You have to scale your economy quite a bit quicker. Going up for more wind turbines, more solar panels, more advanced solar panels, all of it has to be faster. Basically every timing that you usually think of goes out the window. General Entropy in a lot of trouble here. Medium tanks ravaging the base. LLT trying to defend, but the solar panels have collapsed, and those solar panels are basically all the energy economy right here for the Cyan Commander, who has thousands of metal, 1,300 metal, more or less, and just doesn't have a way to spend it. What a bummer right there for the blue commander, who needs desperately to throw up as many solar panels as he can. Solar panels, an egregious waste of metal, certainly inefficient for the metal to energy ratio, but there is one thing that I have to give them credit for, and that's being a massively efficient way of dumping metal, right? If you need to just put metal on the field, it is an effective quote-unquote metal storage, right? It's one of those things that I was explaining to a newcomer to Beyond All Reason. One of those things that I was explaining to a commenter was that metal is never lost in this game. The only time metal is lost are when units or buildings are destroyed. When a building exists, you can reclaim it for its full metal value. So if you eat this metal extractor, you get 50 metal out of it. You never get the energy back, but you always get the metal. What that means, of course, is that if you, for instance, build 100 wind turbines, despite it taking a tremendous amount of resources, you can always eat them up to go for, yeah, a little bit of a recycling type beat. Maces stomping forward here, though. Lovely stuff. A little bit of a medium tank push on the southern side from the green commander, Estebandito, trying to keep things together right here. I always think of, well, anyway. I forgot the name, so I'm just going to abandon that. But anyway, if it comes back to me, I'll say it. A little bit of a push down here from the green commander as the yellow and red tanks and maces will push that back. Actually, a nice thug line up on this northern side. Yeah, those thugs are looking dangerous. Chicken Tasty's commander is super far forward, and suddenly this is a tremendous army of thugs. Whoa, you have to be so careful. Thugs are one of those units that can snowball really, really quickly. They go from being kind of meh on the front lines to being really dangerous very quickly. It only takes 5 or 10 of them before you start to get up to those numbers. I guess that's a pretty big difference. I would say probably closer to 10. Around 10 of them, though, they really start to show away, and there you go. You can see they just melted that bot lab in an instant. This is 24 thugs, so we're well past that threshold I was talking about. And you can see just how dangerous they are. As soon as they get their volley going and they can really start connecting with a bunch of this stuff, it can be a nightmare to deal with. 2.3 thousand metal lying on the wreckage field right here today as blitzes, thugs, and bot labs are all eaten up right now by the orange commander, who will be eager to set up a defensive line. Yeah, there we go. We've got Fluffy Commando moving forward with the commander, just building LLTs and metal extractors. I don't mind it one bit. Again, one of those things that would be awfully wasteful in an 8v8. Building this many LLTs all over the place, it's just a bad way to spend all your resources. But when you have 3 times the amount of economy, it doesn't really matter all too much. You can put up as many of those towers as you want as long as you're continuing your E-scaling. That really is the most important part right here for a lot of these commanders to focus on. T2 lab coming up right now for the yellow commander. We already have T2 up and running for the... Oh no, pardon me, I thought this was a T2 aircraft plant. It's actually just a T1 aircraft plant. So this is what I was talking about. You have the resources to actually dual tech tree. What do we even call it? We need new terminology for this sort of thing. You can split your tech tree, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Oh, Cyan Commander, or Green Commander, where did you come from? Well, either way, Green Commander caught way out in the open by all of the forces of both of the, or all 3 of the players here of the red team. You know, I've got red, yellow, and orange tanks rolling forward. And I don't see a reason for them to stop. Yeah, these tanks are continuing to apply pressure right here, and the blue team is down to just 2 commanders. One other thing that you don't usually think about in the 8v8 scene, but you have to be very cognizant of in the 2v2, 3v3, 1v1, 4v4, all those sort of things, it's that you don't have as many commanders. Yeah, you just don't have as many opportunities for those big nuclear explosions as the D-gun reactor chain reacts into the thermonuclear energy constructor. That's a lot of lore I'm just making up off the top of my head, by the way. You don't have as many opportunities, right? So now the blue team only has 2 more commanders, and I have a bad feeling about one of them. Things are going to get worse for the blue team before they get better. That transition into air is very potent, of course. You can use those air forces when the red team has no air in order to defend themselves. But if you don't manage to find immense value right about now, I have a feeling that you're never going to find that value, yeah. Once the air defenses come up and online, the bombing runs, the gunship harassment, all of it's going to be way, way harder. And as soon as those commanders start throwing up anti-air turrets everywhere, you're just never going to be able to get a proper scouting unit through either. Medium tank still brawling on the back line here. Choking out the reinforcements is actually quite nice. Obviously, you want to engage a 4 versus 1 instead of a 4 versus 20. It's a pretty obvious strategical move right there, but cutting off the reinforcements is one way to take those trades very, very efficiently. The major downfall right here for the blue team is the fact that with 2 vehicle players, you don't have a very good system in place for reclaiming a bunch of this wreckage, right? So there's tons of metal out on the field. These vehicles want nothing more to storm through this vastly inferior force of bots marching forward. However, how can they do such a thing when they're leaving thousands of metal worth of corpses out on the battlefield every single time that they roll out? Makes it very inefficient. This is the power that the maximum economy gives you, that 3x economy. Means you can go into T2, means you can go into loads of T1, unreasonable amounts of T1, bigger T1 armies than usually you'd ever get to before it's too inefficient and you just go for T2. Chicken Tasty, oh, not paying attention. Oh no, brutal connections with the commander. Down to just 12% right here. Okay, yellow commander I don't think was paying attention right there. Always important to keep focus on what the actual goal of the game is to kill those commanders. It's why it's a deathmatch. This is not an eco deathmatch. This is a plain old-fashioned brawl in the dark. It's a deathmatch to the death. You gotta snipe those commanders whenever and wherever possible. 11% HP on this commander. These maces could have brought it down, I do believe. But instead they chose to fight the tanks, the hardened exterior shell of the blue commander, rather than the soft, chewy armada underbelly. Maces will be dealt with, and now I hope to see some sort of, resbot shenanigans. Okay, yeah, there's, what is that, 8 resbots out on the field resurrecting units rather than reclaiming them. I don't mind it, actually. I mean, I think the res bots are... It's going to take a while, right? So I wouldn't even mind seeing maybe 20 or so out on the battlefield, just trying to patch up these tanks as quickly as possible. It's a massive drain on your economy, though. It does take energy to resurrect things. It doesn't take any metal unless the thing has already been partially reclaimed, but it does drain energy regardless. So you have to be aware of the fact that if you decide to reclaim a whole bunch or resurrect a whole bunch of stuff, yeah, you will be in fact draining your energy economy. General Entropy seems at peace with that, though, and is going into tons and tons of solar panels, which is not a bad move, but we do need to see the southern side reclaimed. Yeah, nice aggression right here from Stellas. I was just about to say we should see some harassment down here, and indeed we do, as the red commander has pushed forward with some medium tanks, broken through the hardline defenses. It is now sending tanks directly into the back line of the blue team. No response so far. We do have a T2 lab up and running right now for the blue commander, who commands a massive swath of the land up here on this map. A couple of mechs is unclaimed right here. Oh, I see. These ones were queued by the vehicles, but they never actually got them. Yeah, it looks like the blue commander just noticed here as well, taking a little more care to queue those mechs. That's a frustrating moment right there, where they don't the vehicles can't figure it out. That's just kind of like a, almost feels like an AI issue, not really a, not like a, I mean, it's technically a micro issue, right? You are the commander after all, but yeah, it definitely burns a little bit there. Either way, beamer turret here to deflect some of these medium tanks. The flanking bonus makes that beamer turret do crazy damage, and the blitzes will be more than sufficient to wipe up this very last tank. At this point, we've got gunships on the front line here. We've got loads and loads of tanks. I'm curious why these gunships aren't just going around and sniping metal extractors. The Banshees don't do very much damage against any of these hardened units. The medium tanks, the thugs, the maces, gunslingers, all those units with a little bit tougher exterior shell. But they're definitely going to be quite fabulous against metal extractors, so I don't see why you wouldn't just send them around, you know, pop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 metal extractors all over the place. AA turrets coming up all over, though, too. Yeah, the orange commander, the red commander, all of them getting ready for that air assault by setting up air defense turrets wherever they can. It's a little bit of a tricky situation, right? It's the reason why there's always that discrepancy between when you should send your first bombers. You send them too early, and then you essentially guarantee that you'll never be able to send another bombing run, not efficiently anyways. You send them too late, and then already there's a significant air force to hinder you. Very tricky situation. No great answer, but certainly one thing that you don't want to do is show your air force and then pull them back. You basically want to make it a surprise attack whenever, wherever possible. What a resurrected army. Talk about Mechromancer. Somebody commented that under the last video that prominently featured Resbots, and I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, Mechromancers, that's what we can call these bad boys. The Lazarus and the Grave Robbers. Patching up these tanks, putting together an army of the undead. Gunslingers here, see, this is the thing. Gunslingers are a great option, except for the fact that we have so much metal on the field in T1. Oh, that's the blue commander going down, my goodness. Taking out a large swath of the army on the southern side here as well, wiping away tons and tons of those bots, and of course, bringing the blue team closer to overwhelming defeat. Vehicles rushing down on the southern side. Guards, not really the pinnacle of defense against tanks or any kind of light tanks or anything like that, but they will do the job. These blitzes are essentially the scouting units, though. The medium tanks are the actual bruisers that are going to come down here to try and break through this. A couple of heavy laser towers, maybe a pop-up flamethrower turret wouldn't be the end of the world right here on the southern side. We'd need a constructor for that, of course, and that's one thing that the Red Commander is lacking on the southern side. We, you know what, are kind of slacking on economy here, too. We got tons and tons of energy, but the metal extractors are not coming up to T2. Have we not handed out T2 constructors? For whatever reason, the Red Commander is without a T2 con. It would behoove them to acquire a T2 constructor so that they could improve their economy fourfold. Really got fancy with that sentence, huh? I'm practicing for this 3v3 tournament. Gotta bring my A game, gotta put on my very best commentator's gloves, so... Gotta get warmed up, right? Do some vocal exercises. Hey, Resbot's picking up the commander over here. Lovely stuff. Yeah, the Commander Resurrect is much more important in these lower commander games, right? The 3v3s, 2v2, small team games, I guess is what we're calling those nowadays. Where's the line in small team games? Is it 5v5? Is it 4v4? What's a small team game? What's a large team game? I don't know. It's one of those niche little details that I just don't know the answer to. T2 Con's moving out here for the blue commander, who does command a huge presence on the map. So if we can get all this upgraded to T2 mexes, the blue commander is going to be feeling wonderful. Right now, the blue commander commanding 81 metal per second, and that's just on T1 economy. 4 times that, 8, 16, that's half a stack would be 32, 320-ish metal per second. Can you tell I'm a Minecraft fan? I've been playing Minecraft since before you were born, son. I don't want to know how much space in my brain is taken up by unbelievable Minecraft recipes, ancient Minecraft recipes. Tell you how to craft an anvil, though. Gunslinger to clean up these medium tanks running by in the background here. Fader's commander is spotted, not necessarily the most dangerous intelligence to give away. But when you know those Banshees are in the air, it can be a little bit concerning, of course. We've seen Banshee snipes here and there. They're not the most common way to bring down commanders, but they are certainly something to be wary of. And at this point, the gunslingers are built up to pretty devastating numbers. So here's the thing about gunslingers. They fall up very rapidly as soon as you are no longer fighting them against T2, or T1, pardon me. If they're going up against T2, they're going to start to diminish in effectiveness quite quickly. The thing about them, though, is if you can manage to get them into the right fight, if you can manage to take the right fight at the right place, the right time, they are essentially unstoppable. They're a really menacing force on the front lines here, and I think this is basically exactly the fight that we're looking for. A bunch of medium tanks, a bunch of T1 bots. It's all going to be perfect. It all melts away instantly under these gunslingers' blast. There you go. Look at that. As soon as the gunslingers pull out of combat too, they do regenerate, which makes them very, very dangerous. If you don't manage to kill them, they're just going to come back stronger. That was the Orange Commander going up in smoke right there. Fluffy Commando losing his life as a bunch of Sheldon here try and fire away at some of these T1 units going on a tear. The LLT forest is massive though, and it's not going to clean up these tanks very quickly, but it is going to clean up these tanks eventually. Hilarious, yeah. And at this point, I mean, we're talking about losing metal extractors that are worth a fourth of the value of the T2 metal extractors, so really not the end of the world right now for the Yellow Commander to just go ahead and rebuild those rather than, worry about resurrecting them or defending them or whatever. Just rebuilding these mechs, getting the whole economy upgraded is really all that needs to happen. Medium tanks running out of APM right here. An unfortunate end to their harassment on the, well, kind of middle of the map, middle northern side of the map. Gunslingers still marching forward. That Spybot looking for a juicy connection, but there's really only so much it can do. Paralyzing 4 of those gunslingers is nice. There's still 8 more. That was a guess. I'm not sure how many exactly. Oh, it is exactly 8. Look at that. I'm getting good at this, eh? You'd hope after, like, what has it been now? A year and a half? Something like that? You'd certainly hope so. The other thing about gunslingers is that they level up quite significantly faster than other units do. It's not the most dangerous thing in the world, but they benefit from it quite a bit. One thing that gunslingers do get, that most units do not, is extra range when they level up. So they can actually shoot further and hit targets further more consistently. It's one of those things that is a minor change at first, but it definitely snowballs out of control very quickly. Once they can kind of outrange commanders, they can outrange LLTs, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they really do start to become a nuisance. And here we go. Chicken Tasty in a lot of trouble. Boom goes the blue commander for the second time right there, running for his life against this horde of gunslingers. My goodness. Meanwhile, a massive ball of hounds and medium tanks marching forward on the southern side. 2 different pronged attacks marching forward towards the blue side of the map immediately. We do have a T2 vehicle lab up and running, but again, we never really stimulated that energy economy to the point where it needed to be to pump out these T2 vehicles. And now the T1, T2 combination force, the combo platter of units is knocking on General Entropy's door. Janus missiles doing the best that they can, and they do a lot, but it's just not enough yet. Medium tanks, maces, all of it, trying to clean up this force on the southern side, but it's devastating. Hey, that's a way bigger Spybot connection over here on the northern side. Loads of gunslingers paralyzed with that one. Few of them still standing, and they're trying to pop the build power here, denying any reinforcements that are going to come out. But certainly losing all these gunslingers here does sting. Nicely done. Using those ticks to blast down the gunslingers. The fusion reactors popped at the gunslingers that did slip through, but of course cleaning up these gunslingers really efficiently is the most important thing. Have they done enough damage? Oh, I guess the blue team decided that they have. Throwing in the towel here as those gunslingers snipe the economy, and actually losing their last commander. Yeah, it wasn't a throw in the towel at all. It was a snipe right there. A full-blown win for the red team, managing to pop that last commander. It's so tricky. Even I'm not used to the pace of these 3v3s still. I'm still getting used to it, but I'm very excited about it. I'll take this last second while you're here to say thank you a ton for watching, and I sure hope to see you tomorrow in the 3v, or today for the 3v3 tournament. It's going to be a blast, and I really, really hope to see you there. Consider signing up, but if not, come check us out. We'll be live on Twitch, and we'll be streaming the entire ordeal live to you there. Thanks a ton, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the very next game, Beyond All Reason. Peace out.